Hello and welcome to Melt. I'm Suresh Venkat. Last week, we told you that Indian agencies had won 4 Grand Prix at the Cannes Lion. Well, we spoke too soon. The final tally now includes a 5th Grand Prix, which was won by Leo Burnett India for the Missing Chapter campaign created for P&G's feminine care brand Whisper. So let's get started on this week's show by taking a look at the campaign, followed by a chat with Leo Burnett India's Rajadhyaksha.
Periods. A topic so taboo that no one in India, not even mothers, talk about it. The only place where girls could have learnt about it is school. But because of the same taboo, even the National Council of Education never printed this chapter. Introducing the Missing Chapter. Together with P&G Whisper, we designed a chapter for schoolgirls to understand the simple biology behind periods. The conversation was sparked with a film about 3 rebellious girls on a mission to spread period education. The red piece of paper became the symbol of our revolution. To reach the remotest parts of India, we adapted the chapter in 28 native art styles and languages and put it on school and village walls. India lent its voice for our petition by reading the chapter on social media.
So Raj, congrats on the Grand Prix for the Missing Chapter.
Thank you.
So did you take this idea of the Missing Chapter to P&G, or was it a brief given to them and you responded to a brief?
I think it's a fantastic partnership between P&G, Whisper and Leo Burnett for really long. And for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been working on Keep Girls in School initiative, where we want girls coming back to school. Every year, 23 million girls drop out. We can be doing TVCs about that. But in Burnett, we believe in solving human problem. So we decided what to go back to the client with, not just a TVC, but with the idea or the solution. And let's dig in and say what the main problem was. And when you dig in, we realize the biggest problem was in the books itself. There is no chapter on periods. If you don't read about it, how you know about it? And when the first time 71% of girls get their periods and then they know what period is about, they have no idea what period is. A lot of things, think of it, 8, 9, 10 years old girls have no idea about it, and one find that they see blood. And that is why we said education can change people's life, and we can change that. Nothing better than can happen. And that's how we went to the client. And obviously we have amazing partnership. I think the team saw it, no brainer, and says, let's go for it.
And like you said, this is not a traditional TVC or an ad campaign. This is a form of advertising combined with activism, combined with CSR. Is this the future of advertising, Raj? This combination of problem-solving techniques?
I think what's good for people is good for brands. And we believe in that. It's nothing to do with purposeful or CSR or anything. It's why the brands exist for people. And this is the best way to example of what we are creating or what you're building is for people, for a brand like P&G. And this is the example of it.
Why do you think the jury chose your campaign over all the other campaigns in this category?
It's very interesting thing when you're talking to jury president. He told a very nice thing. He says, sustainability have different things, which are education, health, finance, everything, soil, environment.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened here, it's actually done multiple things. First, it's education. Second, equality. Third, it's immediately the 10 years from now, it's going to be the economical growth of a nation.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the girls coming in. And so it was a much bigger, powerful idea, not just one layer, multiple layers was there in the power of that idea. And that's it.
It's been a good year for India at Cannes, 5 Grand Prix, and all the winners won Elephants at Curious Awards recently held in Mumbai. So do you think Curious is becoming sort of the teaser for the Cannes Lion?
Of course, it's one of the good awards. And by the way, awards shows good work win everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have good juries, they choose the best pieces of work. And Curious does that also.
So that makes it 5 Grand Prix in all for Indian work, a record first at the Cannes Lion. Here's a quick recap of the other work that won Grand Prix. The Unfiltered History Tour campaign by Dentsu Creative India for Vice Media, and the Killer Pack campaign by VMLY&R India for Max Flash.
collections in the British museums are premised on a simple idea. I'm proud of what my grandfather stole from yours.
The Rosetta Stone was not a discovery neither of the French, neither of the British. It was already discovered and reused in Egypt multiple times.
For us, it's not just a well-carved rock, it is a living ancestor.
This very important statue is on display in a museum thousands of miles away.
Say the British Museum is the world's largest receiver of stolen goods. We're launching an interactive tour of some of its most contested artifacts.
We're now looking at the Weigel Shield.
The Rosetta Stone.
We already had Vice News, and from an audience perspective, it was more kind of US focused than we would want it to be, even though we we're already covering international issues. So yeah, for Vice World News, this project has been a really important part of us establishing the brand, as well as kind of all the other amazing reporting that we're doing.
What kind of pressure does this put on following up such a spectacularly successful campaign?
So from an agency point of view, I think it just sets the standard very high, and it just tells everyone that, okay, this is what we are kind of now looking at achieving every single time that we think of an idea or we think of a solution. So it's just a good place to be. And it just gets a lot of right kind of attention that we need to ourselves from potential employees, talent, and we've been attracting good brands. We're getting brands who are now willing to experiment, willing to go bold. With Vice, I think it's just now about making sure that we keep delivering on our promise of working together, and how do we take this idea to the next level, and also look at parallel conversations that we can start having with Vice across, right?
Introducing the Killer Pack. A pack, when disposed, kills mosquito larvae outside the house, while the non-toxic coil fights mosquitoes inside, breaking the vicious cycle. This 100% biodegradable packaging is lined and printed with 5% active probiotic Bacillus thuringiensis that acts against mosquito larvae. This pack disintegrates in water and moist environments, such as garbage dumps, dustbins, ponds, and stagnant water. The strand approved and recommended by WHO, EPA, and ICMR does not harm birds, rats, or any other species. These packs were distributed every month to state health centres based on the data by the National Centre of Vector-Borne Diseases. Areas with high sales of Killer Pack are seeing a significant reduction in disease-causing larvae. Due to its impact, Max Flash is now extending this innovation to its entire product range.
People are aware that mosquitoes are the #1 killer in the world, right? But our problem was a bit more unique, right? Like, where we're talking about how mosquito larvae kind of like breeds in garbage dumps, right? And we in India have this habit of like making every empty plot, every street corner a garbage dump, right? And that's where we thought of the solution where like, hey, what if the solution wasn't the problem? Right? And if you observe a lot of garbage dumps, it's pretty much like packaging waste, plastic waste, FMCG brand waste. So I think that's where the thought came from. Like, hey, what if the packaging could solve the problem of like killing the larvae? And I think that simplicity of the thought kind of resonated with a lot of people.
Besides the Grand Prix, Indian entries also saw another first at the Cannes Lion Awards, winning a couple of titanium lions. Instituted in 2003 as a way of honoring creative marketing that transcends traditional categories, the Titanium Lions are considered amongst the highest accolades for creative professionals. The work that won the Titanium Lions from India included the Unfiltered History Tour by Dentsu Creative and the Shah Rukh Khan My Ad campaign by Ogilvy India for Cadbury celebrations.
It deserves the titanium because I think it's one of the most bravest piece of work, backed by one of the most loved brand in this country, and they did something which was so extraordinary. They did something which was so beyond expectation in terms of what you see people do in a festival in the market.
Practically more than half a century of partnership, and it feels special when some of the most modern ideas, SRK My Ad for example, some of the most modern creative solutions are happening on one of our oldest clients. That speaks volumes for the kind of, teamwork and the partnership and the trust that exists between the two.
At the end of it all, Indian agencies won a total of 47 lions, including 5 Grand Prix, 2 titanium, 8 gold, 17 silver and 15 bronze lions. And in another first for an Indian agency, Dentsu Creative India also won the Global Agency of the Year honours. Now, besides the Unfiltered History Tour, the Killer Pack and SRK Buy Ad campaign, let's meet some of the winners of the other work that won gold.
Chatpat is just such a lovable rascal, and we all have issues with the celebrity culture, and yet we can't do anything to change it. What this boy comes, a 10-year-old, is the power of a celebrity and how he's used it, for a good cause is the sweetest story ever told.
I think it's a very, very scalable solution, right? Coming from a very big brand, right? And it can be applied to not just India, all of Asia, also Africa, South America, like a simple idea, like, hey, get any brand bottle and like fill the liquid detergent and you're saving, look at that, like the scale of it, right?
We talk about inclusivity, diversity, and out here you actually are not looking at, this is like women standing up for themselves and helping themselves, and that's the way to change things.
This particular piece has come from India that, you are including women into the fold of financial, world of it so that they're able to take control of their lives. That's a larger universal narrative.
Now, interestingly, almost all the work that won big at the Cannes Lion this year had also won elephants at the 2022 Curious Creative Awards held last month. So winning at Curious is the precursor to winning at Cannes? Well, you be the judge of that. Now, even though there was a lot of talk of data and tech and metaverse at the Cannes Lion, the most popular award category remains the Film Lions. This year, 2 entries won the Grand Prix for film. Superhuman for Channel 4 and Escape from the Office for Apple. Here's a quick snapshot of the films and a chat with the jury president for the Film Lions, David Lubars.
Well, you might as well quit. If you haven't got it, but you might as well quit. If you haven't got it, you need a real joke, something. If you haven't got it, we have a spin joke, and we'll get to haven't got it. Keep quite swift. If you haven't got it, get the drift. Put him in a real joke, chicken and a frog. Then we have a wind joke, so we need a hot chicken or frog.
Vivian?
Oh.
Hi, it's Vivian.
Vivian, hi! I'll keep this short as I'm sure you have plenty of work to do. This Better Bag company of yours, I want to buy it. And you.
Homework? Executive parking spaces?
Our own floor? Our own department? Come in tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We'll make things official.
Rupert, Mommy did it.
David, the first question is quite simple. Why did the Grand Prix winning work win the Grand Prix?
It was a combination of perfect storytelling, flawless through every step of the way, kept you in as a viewer, a reductionist point, no trying to figure out what they're saying, and also try to do some complex things. The first one for Channel 4 brought attention to a kind of a misunderstood, underrepresented group that nobody really thinks about, made it exciting, fun, compassionate, surprising. The second one presented an array of complex, arcane, difficult to understand products in a way that was so entertaining, you didn't want it to end. That's really hard to do.
And the second one is long format. Some people would argue that long format video simply doesn't work, nobody watches.
They certainly watch that one. And if you watch the case study, they had some very good results. But, all the way back to, BMW Films is long form, and there's been some other beautiful ones along the way. That Honda R, there's been some great ones that have worked, a whole slew that haven't worked, but you could say that about any category.
So it's not a question of format or length.
It's a question of quality.
Tell us a couple of qualities that made the Grand Prix winning work stand out from the other, I imagine, reasonably deserving entries.
I think what happened was the level of difficulty of what they were trying to sell is what kind of pushed those up.
So as jury president, you've seen a lot of work. And all the work that you've seen this year, what does it tell you about the future of advertising and creativity? Which direction are we going in?
You don't want to ever believe or trust futurists. Because if I told you 5 years ago what the world would be like today, what you can do is kind of see where the leading edge of where we are today. And I think that point about, you see a lot of work that has kindness, that goes to the soul, that says humans aren't all terrible. There's good people trying to do good things. All you read about is bad, but we're trying as a species to do some good. And I think it's reflected in some of this work. And, it's a reaction to the times, and maybe it's our tiny part of playing an antidote to the times.
So David, back in Cannes after a 2-year hiatus, I imagine. Tell me a couple of things, 2 or 3 things that you've learned from your Cannes trip this year.
I learn things every year. You know what you really learn? It reminds you of why you believe what you believe, and why you think something's effective, and why you think creativity is such an important tool. It's not just a nice to have. We're a storytelling species all the way back from the beginning, from the original texts and scribes all the way through. That's how we respond to things, and that's how you communicate in our industry too.
We also have to talk about the Titanium Grand Prix winning work. Long Live the Prince for the Kian Prince Foundation, a superb idea that possibly shows the way ahead for the business of creativity through its use of gaming and pushing storytelling through digital means. Watch the work and listen in to a chat with jury president for the Titanium Lions, Rob Reilly.
My name is Kian Prince, and I am a professional footballer, or at least I would have been, had I not been killed when I was 15. There's 2 stories I want to tell you about my son, Kian.
National Elite Knife Crimes.
The first one is about how he lost his life to a young person carrying a knife. But I want to tell you the other story, the more powerful one, about the man he was destined to become.
Everyone used to talk about Kian, how much of a wonderful talent he was, and he was always destined to play at the top.
Were he alive today, Kian's hard work, positivity, and his talent would have seen him become one of the stars of the game. Now I understand not everyone's got what it takes to become a pro baller, but everyone's got something that they're good at. So stand tall, stand strong, and let that be your story. Your only story. See the man Kian was destined to become. Find him in FIFA as the face of JD, in match attacks, and on the team sheet at QPR.
All right, Rob Reilly, why did the Grand Prix winning work deserve the Grand Prix this year?
You know, selling to teenagers, as you know, is very difficult. And when you have multiple brands partnering with a charity, but a brand like EA, and willing to modify their game, and for a team like Queen Park Rangers, a Premier League team, willing to put gear out for a player who has been deceased for 15 years, that level of subversive approach to sell teens on the danger of gun violence and showing them the potential that will be lost, then all the pieces within it, were flawless. And that's what it takes to be the Grand Prix of Titanium. Everything in Titanium that wins is flawless. This is the flawless upon flawless.
And is that what made it stand out from the rest of the entries in the Titanium category?
I think for the winners it was. I think you could look at all 5 of the other Titanium winners, and you could see why they are flawless in their own way. And they're all different. One's a piece of innovation, DotPad that's going to change the lives. And Dot is a company that's been making the watches and the phones, but this is the pad. This is a tool and a functional tool that they will really be able to see through this pad, and it's going to change the lives of nearly 300 million people who suffer from, a sight disability. And then you look at something like Unfiltered History, which is, and having Anne on our jury, exposing the atrocities that happened to a country like India, stealing of artifacts and priceless artifacts, and that's where technology, the idea is genius. It's just using an amazing technology. And then the lost class, living in America, the gun violence is worse than it's ever been. So we need to continue to do things. And what this has done, it's slightly different than some other things. It's targeting the NRA. And it's all about power and money over human life. And we need to put politicians in place that will make that decision for human life. And then the piece from Cadbury around Diwali, an ad that reached 1 billion people. That is mind-blowing to me. The technology is mind-blowing. The creativity behind it is mind-blowing, but it reached 1 billion people and will change the lives and the fortunes of many of them. So,
and all the work that you saw this year, what does that tell you about the future of advertising, the future of creativity?
Consistency, to me, the definition of something that will stop people in its tracks and show us the way forward. That was Dan Wyden's definition 20 years ago. And every year we're asked, what's titanium? It's that. It's our ideas that need to evolve, not the definition of the category.
Now let's listen into a conversation with the jury president for the Sustainable Development Goals Lines, Kimberlee Wells. Remember, the Grand Prix winning idea for this category was Whispers, the Missing Chapter campaign by Leo Burnett India. This year's Grand Prix winner, could you tell us why it was worthy of the Grand Prix as opposed to the other entries?
What we love about this case is it goes to the heart of system change. So creativity, when it is most potent, can intercept where the issue is actually stemming from, rather than wrapping the problem in a nice creative solution. So really for us, this idea has so many layers to it. I mean, there's an intersectionality across the goals. So it tackles quality education, it tackles gender equality, it tackles reduced inequality. If we get these things right for India's young girls, then we also enhance the economic opportunities within the country. We'll have more women in work. There's so much cumulative impact that comes. I mean, what else can you say, right?
What have been the big learnings for you personally at Cannes this year?
I'm absolutely thrilled that between our golds and also our Grand Prix, increasingly we're seeing brands show up. So it's not purely about the charities that are working or the NGOs working in those sectors. It's not purely about advocacy. It's actually putting social conscience in the center of business and demonstrating that there's not a trade-off between doing the right thing and still being a profitable business.
And that's all the time we have on Mel TV this week. But keep coming back. Over the next few weeks, you'll hear from the likes of Dentsu Worldwide's Wendy Clark, Ogilvy's Devika Bulchandani, L'Oreal's Ashmita Dubey, Edelman's Richard Edelman, S4 Capital's Sir Martin Sorrell, ITC India's Samir Satpathy, and much, much more. As always, stay connected with us at Ready to Melt on all social media or log on to readytomelt.com. If you'd like to follow me, I'm at Suvenk on Twitter. Till next week, adieu.